First of all, I feel like the goal process as a filmmaker for me is to have an idea and then spend 2 years executing that idea. And so as I'm in post-production on one movie, I start thinking ideas start coming for the next movie. And they've now become a very complicated process. Before it used to be, oh, I got a good idea, I'm just gonna write that. Then it became, well, I have a couple good ideas, which one can I inject meaning into? So then that was a different level. And now there's like 8 levels to my decision making. So an idea has to have all these characteristics, that it can have meaning, that it can have suspense, that it can have emotion, the humanity, and that it has a global significance, and that it has a universal message that people in India and Japan and Philadelphia, that everybody can relate to it, that I'm touching on some connection between people, and that it feel like a great roller coaster ride all the same. An idea that can hold all that without bending it too far takes a while to come up with. And so finally this idea came, and it bent to all those things so easily. And also I'm really looking for clean stories, not something too complicated. It needs to feel like one movie to me. So like this movie is all on a farm, all one family in one place. And so when you leave it, you'll know what it felt like to be on this farm and be with this family during this very kind of horrific time.
One of the things that's really interesting about the way Knight writes is that he covers a lot of different elements, and there are a lot of different layers to his stories and to his scripts. And what I really enjoyed about reading Signs when I first read it was that he was tackling another genre. I think he's sort of approached genres that we've seen before in movies in his own unique way, and he did that with The Sixth Sense and with Unbreakable. And I think he's doing it again with Signs. Another layer that Knight likes to incorporate into his stories are real-life occurrences. He bases a lot of his background and character information on things that have happened in real life.
Knight's original big concept, and where the title Signs came from, is the whole notion of the crop circles. Now, there are a number of people who remember this from the early 80s, where there were a lot of these signs showing up in various parts of the world, mostly in fields of wheat. And there was a lot of speculation as to whether or not it was actually something that was being done by pranksters and wasn't real, or in fact it was a sign from outer space. And Knight chose to do these signs in cornfields because for anyone who's ever grabbed a stalk of corn, you realize it's extremely difficult to bend, let alone flatten 300-400 yards of cornfields. So the fact that these signs appear in cornfields definitely means that they are most likely not man-made.
Crop circles are something that's always been of interest to me. The beauty and the grandeur of them, just the mystique that no one's taking credit for them. They've happened all around the world. A lot of publicized ones in England, plenty of them in the United States. I think there's 600 in India, so it's a kind of a phenomenon that people have caught on to, and it's always been something that's intrigued me as a subject. And that's the kind of the platform for the movie that it springs from, the crop circles. But it started there with that fascination about that supernatural event. That was the subject matter, but the style of the movie and the things that really affected me came from basically 3 movies, and those 3 movies were The Birds as the main influence of a kind of this supernatural event that was happening that has no explanation. And then subsequently, the aspect of that movie where it all ends up in a house. And then there's another movie, which is Night of the Living Dead, which all ends up in a house as well, to this phenomenon again that's happening. And then, of course, the kind of subtle but powerful suspense that came from the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I definitely feel akin to older filmmaking than today's filmmaking, where rather than showing the killer coming with the bloody knife, I would hear a noise and the lights would be on the room, or it would be something in the room that's still moving, and you show that and then the victim realizes there's someone in the room. Oh, that's scarier, the realization in the mind of what's coming, rather than cutting to the guy with the bloody knife, which means don't worry about what scares you, this is what we think scares you. And that's usually 99% of the time very limiting. So if you can give the audience a way to relate, then they'll feel so much more, because they'll be imagining what it felt like to go through this supernatural journey. This movie needed to have a journey other than the physical one that's happening. And Tak Fujimoto and I, we talk about the movie as a metaphor, as a conversation between God and this one man. So with regard to the title, Signs, it definitely has two meanings. One is the crop signs that they find in their yard, but it's also talking about the faith and the existence of signs from above in a kind of a heavenly manner. And the main character, played by Mel Gibson, is a man who's lost faith, who's actually in search of signs that there's somebody out there watching over them.
What Knight so successfully does is he always has a subtext to his stories. And this is about a man regaining his faith. And so there's a strong, strong emotional sensibility to the entire story that runs throughout Mel Gibson's character.
Supernatural movies kind of have a disclaimer in the beginning, say none of this is real, wink wink, so let's just have some fun with it. But what if this really happened? This is what you would feel, this is what you would say, and then you come out of it that way with some journey that the characters went through and take something away then. So it's as powerful as a dramatic movie.